my name is Leaderbot, and today I would like to introduce you to the sequel to my fighting game Leaderbot War, Leaderbot War Conflict. Leaderbot War Conflict is a fighting game where classic Leaderbot characters clash in an epic showdown against one another. Conflict is based off some of the concepts and groundworks from the original Leaderbot War game, but it was rebuilt from the ground up, so it was quite an undertaking. Don't worry though, this sequel has many characters and maps, alongside lots of classic content that you loved from the original. So without any further ado, I would like to show off one core element from Leaderbot War that we've redesigned in a major way for the sequel. Introducing right. You might remember the basic map from Leaderbot War. The classic fighting layout returns, but we've restyled it to truly enhance your fighting game experience. I feel the new design declares both regality and intensity, with a slight psychedelic edge. I hope it makes Leaderbot War more fun to both watch and play. Speaking of playing, let's have a look at some of the gameplay. Tig returns to the conflict from my original game, Tiggy. He could be considered the mascot of Leaderbot's games, and is #1 on the characters list in Leaderbot War Conflict. As you can see, the core gameplay of Leaderbot War Conflict is still the same. Every character can move around the map, perform 2 basic attacks to inflict damage on the other player. They have a melee attack and a ranged attack. In Leaderbot War Conflict, you'll notice that there's some recoil now caused by the ranged attacks. The ranged attacks felt a little bit arbitrary in the first game, so I hope in the sequel you'll be really able to feel when you shoot a projectile. In the same vein, unlike the first game, ranged attacks in Leaderbot War now cause knockback to your opponents. No more wondering if a ranged attack landed or why your health has gotten so low. When you get shot in Leaderbot War Conflict, you'll feel it. You might have noticed something when Hayate was hit by my shot just now. There's a graphics effect I'm particularly proud of when players are knocked around in Leaderbot War. These clouds burst off them from the impact of the hit, just another visual cue in Conflict to help you easily keep track of the state of the match. Now onto the melee attack. For most characters, this attack is a short-range, high-damage tool for the purpose of rushing down the opponent or getting them off you when they come too close. Unlike ranged attacks, melee attacks knock characters upwards as well as away. Sometimes having an opponent in the air can really be an advantage. Of course, returning from Leaderbot War is the shield. Press the down button to make your character hide in some way, shape, or form. When they're shielded, they can't be hurt by the opponent's ranged attacks. But what's this? Hayate's melee attack can't hurt Tig either. Does this mean Tig is invincible? No. Introducing a third attack move for all characters new to Leaderbot War Conflict, the Shield Breaker. Shield Breakers come in many shapes and forms. They're usually extremely close range, meaning you have to get in real close to break your opponent's shield. They don't deal any damage, but they will throw your opponent into the air, where they can't shield anymore. You can use the air time to combo with the other attacks. With these mechanics, you can fight as one of many unique characters to outsmart and defeat your opponents in Leaderbot War Conflict. Another core Leaderbot mechanic has been enhanced in the sequel as well. The Leaderbot War coins return, but this time they're far more dynamic than their predecessor. In the previous game, they floated randomly until a player touched one, when they would disappear and add into the coin count. Once you had 5, you could unleash your powerful super move. In Conflict, Leaderbot War coins are affected by gravity and come flying or falling from the edge of the screen. After hitting the coin with a few attacks, the coin bursts give super move energy to the player who broke the coin. Hopefully there'll be no more incidents of gaining a coin by accident. At the bottom of the screen, you'll notice players have a Leaderbot War coin bar alongside their health bar. Once the coin bar fills up completely, you can unleash your super move. As you can see, Hayate still swings his powerful lightning sword to deal massive damage to the enemy. However, this time, if it connects, the enemy gets frozen in a hurt state until the attack finishes its swing. If it connected, the gameplay briefly pauses as players are shown in an epic super move screen and the opponent takes damage. Super moves hopefully will feel clearer and more impactful, as well as having a little bit more of the cool factor. In fact, all super moves in Leaderbot War will show a super move screen and do similar damage to balance the moves. It'll also give them a more personalized kick. If coins aren't your thing, there is now also an option to turn off coins before the match starts, so you're very welcome to play without them. Now, let's take a look at some of the characters who will be returning in Leaderbot War Conflict. These are some of the fighters you will take control of to contest in the conflict. Many of the previous game's stars are returning. Croc returns to the war with the same menacing energy as the first game. This time, his sound effects were more brutal and were actually recorded from a real crocodile. Croc also causes some red candy to spurt out of the opponent whenever he lands a melee. Snapping them up in his powerful jaws is a reference to his origin appearance, which I don't recommend you look up. Spot from Artist Spot is back, but this time his color appearance is green, based off the default color from Artist Spot, rather than the red, which referenced some other games. Don't worry though, if you play as Spot when you're player 2, you can still play as its classic red look. Spot's melee attack now has more range, and can be freely controlled once you launch it. Spot will draw a line that he can actually stand on, and if you draw it into the enemy, you'll deal the usual big melee damage. Yum Yum Shark is very similar to his usual bulky self. This time his melee dash is more extreme, allowing him better mobility and huge range on his melee attack. Din Din's shield is still the portal from World, but this time the portal slowly spins. It's a cool visual effect referencing a Source game that we felt was a good inclusion for him. Blip and Barrel Hunter still use their usual iconic tools, but this time their melee attacks are more energetic. Blip can drop his rainbow from the sky, or off ledges, and Barrel Hunter will place a barrel in front of him when in the air, or drop it long vertical distances off ledges when he's on the ground. In fact, all melee attacks from Leaderbot War that were just short versions of the ranged attacks have been cut from Leaderbot War Conflict. The crazy ice skating penguin duo is back in Leaderbot War Conflict, the Penguin Bros. Just like last time, this character was a challenge to develop, but I got them working better than ever. This time the brother moves exactly like he did in Ice Skating Penguin, and even leaves a trail. They still teamwork elegantly, however. In this version, their melee attack is for the main penguin to swing his brother like a club. While throwing his melee attack across the map is a thing of the past, the attack is still high impact and a powerful melee option. The exciting guest character, David Dig, is here again. And while he plays and looks very similar to his appearance in the first Leaderbot War, the menus, his windscreens, and his character icon, and even his super move, all feature original artworks from the official David Dig channel. David Dig fans rejoice, as Leaderbot War Conflict features more David Dig content than ever. Another guest character returns from Leaderbot War. Totat and Ruzna from Shoot First Ask Later make an appearance. Ruzna is no longer an enemy, but you can play as him if you choose Totat as player 2. This time, Totat has had a total visual overhaul and is based off the newest Shoot First Ask Later installment. That doesn't mean he still doesn't have his classic grenade and triple shot. The triple shot shoots faster and feels snappier than ever before. Totat can also leave trigger mines around the map with his shield breaker. These mines stay on the map until a player walks over one, causing it to explode. Be careful though, you only have 5, and this is your only shield breaker. If you run out, you might end up with an invincible opponent. Now, here's a new fighter. The Dojo Brawlers, Hank and Sam, join the battle. They fight with their iconic attacks from Dojo Brawlers, Fireball, Punch, and Grab. Their attacks have the same epic spark you know and love from Dojo Brawlers. If you're fighting as player 1, you'll be Sam, but add in a player 2, and they'll be able to play as Hank. And there's one more character I'd like to show you all. Please watch the following presentation. That's right, the Adventurer from Adventure is joining the conflict. I hope you are all enjoying trying him out when the game launches in March. Now, in the first Leaderbot War, players had to be different characters to play in multiplayer, and single player mode had completely unique enemies for you to battle. In this game, we decided to give the free play modes a little bit more freedom. That's right. Players can play the same character at the same time. Most characters will default to their canon costume when only one player is playing them. But when both players play the same character, there's an alternate costume for that character. Often, the alternate costume you'll find is a slight reference to something. For example, Tig's Player 2 costume is coloured similarly to Tig Player 4 from Tiggy. Make sure you play some character Ditto to see if you can spot any references. Some characters, like Hank and Roosna, have permanent Player 2 costumes, even if Player 1 is a different character. So, what about single player mode, you might be asking? Well, single player is back, and it's far better than ever. However, this time, you can choose the opponent who you'll be fighting, and you can fight any character on the roster. If you don't like to choose, you can always use the random button to have the game select your opponent for you. You might be wondering what happened to the unique enemies from the last game. Well, you don't have to worry. Many of them are now playable fighters in the main game, like Roosna being Player 2 for Toe Tap. Another thing we've upgraded for the single player mode in Leaderbolt War is the computer enemies. Leaderbolt War Conflict has an extremely advanced AI who can occasionally be a legitimate challenge for even skilled players. It's a big step up from the simple pattern the computers in Leaderbolt War 1 followed. I'm not saying the computer players will be extremely hard, although they don't have any cheats, but they should be fun to fight if you're craving a battle and don't have a friend nearby. For both single player and multiplayer, Leaderbolt War Conflict has something to offer. I'm eager to show off some of the new and returning locations you'll be able to battle on in Leaderbolt War Conflict. I believe the maps in this game are of a significantly higher standard than the first game, and there's been several new Leaderbolt War games to pull content from. The Seafloor map returns from Leaderbolt War. This time, the fishes pack a bit more of a punch. Instead of just running into you and dealing damage, they'll smack you out of their way with Duster. There are more evil fishes this time, to better represent the original Avoid Fishies game, but there's still a classic Yum Yum fish swimming around as well. Fun fact, if you play as Yum Yum Shark on this map, you can actually eat the Yum Yum fish. Better not try and bite those fishes though. The Funlight map is back, and also hasn't changed very much since Leaderbolt War. This time there's a third portal on the bottom left, that feels more like Funlight. Here's the Moonlit Path from Hayate. When Hayate uses his super move on this map, you can see the moon turning into the lightning moon. You might also notice familiar characters from Hayate's games going about their business in the background. The Real-Time Simulator returns. This map changes its background and what it looks like depending on the time of day you're playing. There's now a house on the left, along with a tree on the right. The Shoot First Ask Later 4-player map is here again. Thanks so much to Gizmo for allowing us to include Shoot First Ask Later in the game. When you go off one side of the map, you come out the other, just like in Shoot First Ask Later. If you play a match with Toe Tap versus Roosna, it almost feels like a real Shoot First Ask Later match. As seen in the first look at Leaderbolt War, the dojo from Dojo Brawlers is here. This map is a completely flat map with no platform. It may seem boring, but it's perfect for a Dojo Brawler style battle. Pixelo World is the new exciting map from Pixelo. This map infinitely scrolls, so your battle is constantly moving to the right. Watch out for those pits. Wait a minute, who's that going by in the background? Level Editor is another map from the game Level Editor. This map randomly generates a level of hard platform, grass, lava, spikes, and clouds. Sometimes the map looks pretty empty, and sometimes it's really chaotic. There are many other maps in Leaderbolt War Conflict that I can't wait for you to see when the game finally releases. You may have also noticed the various music tracks that play for the maps. Leaderbolt War has a strong soundtrack, taking tracks from the source game in every map, as well as some extra music from games that might not have received the representation through on them. We've had so much music to use, some maps even have multiple tracks that will be played at random. For original music, such as the main theme, the battle theme, and many others, the Leaderbolt War Symphony Orchestra composed awesome new songs, such as the song you're hearing right now. Special thanks to the Symphony Orchestra for making the soundtrack into something really special. You can read about them in the game's credits. Now here's another exciting thing I'd like you all to see. The control section is not a huge mess like it was in the last game, but more importantly, you can map the control buttons as you please on the keyboard, meaning if you don't like the initial control layout, you're free to customize it for maximum comfort of your controls, as well as your player too. The menu is very clean. Simply click the action button you would like to change, and press what key you would like to replace it with. Then hit enter. If you press the key in the control menu, the action button will light up, so you can test to see if your custom controls work. You can also hit the info button if you need a quick tutorial on what each control does. I hope you're all as excited as I am for the launch of Leaderbolt War Conflict. All information will certainly be coming between now and March. But this concludes my presentation for today. Please stick around to see one final announcement after I go. Thank you for watching.